Hello, Patreon. Welcome back. Let's talk about learning music by ear. To do that, we need to talk about two different concepts. The first one is going to be active listening versus passive listening. So, when you're listening to music, right, there should be a recognition of, okay, I don't need perfect pitch to do this, but we know that a song starts and resolves in one, meaning the bar of music that's being repeated the whole time will start and end with the same chord. We call that the key center. We know it's going to resolve on one. So if we're going to guess chord changes or intervals, it's really easy to know that the beginning and the ending is always going to be one. So, for example, if we were listening to 9 Pound Hammer, right? And you were just listening along. So I don't want you to be able to see my hands here when I do this. I want you to be able to guess what chord I'm playing. 1, 2, 3, and that is where you need to start. If you're going to try to learn music by ear, you need to be able to identify chord changes and you need to be able to identify intervals. So, what is an interval? So, I think of an interval like taking a step, right? So, when you take a step, what's the largest step you can take musically? Well, what I mean by that is how many different notes can you play until you repeat yourself? That repetition of note there is called an octave, right? We all know that as an octave. Well, that is the largest step you can take musically, right? You can't go any farther away from a note until if you go to that G sharp, you're now repeating a note that you've already played. Does that make sense? Hopefully so. Let me know if it doesn't make sense. So when we're listening to chord changes, the intervals are really just going to be the 1, 4, or 5, right? So we need to be able to hear the difference from, right? Does that make sense? If we're in the key of G and the first chord is C, back to G, then to D. What we want to be able to differentiate here is that D is farther away from G, right? Does that make sense? And the octave is here. We need to think about what parts of a major scale, which we've talked about major scales a lot on the channels here on YouTube and on Patreon. We need to think about what part of the major scale, outlines a chord, right? Chord tones, that type of thing. All of that stuff, to be able to hear it when someone plays it, the only way you're going to be able to identify that is if you work on your interval training. Now, it's really, really easy to start to do that, to start to hear chord changes. We listen to music all the time. Hopefully, you are listening to music as much as as much as you should be, because that's the only way to learn it is to listen to it, right? The rhythm section is going to be extremely important to how and what you can play and when you can play it. So you're going to need to know how to play rhythm for these tunes. If you do not know how to do that, playing lead is going to be exponentially harder, because rhythm builds in the timing structure and the chord structure that lays out how we actually solo, right? So if you're going to learn how to solo on something, you got to learn how to play rhythm. It's just kind of a given. It seems like it should be, but a lot of people will put the cart before the horse. They want to learn some break and all this stuff, and then they can't get it in timing. Well, one way to really confirm that we know the tune is going to be to play that song for someone else to solo on and to keep solid rhythm for them. Once you can do that, I feel confident that you can step out and you can build something, because then you have an internal melody in your head and you know how the chord changes move, right? So I've used this example on my social media as well, where I talk about singing happy birthday to, and when you go up to that to, everybody does it, right? But why? It's really because that's how the song goes, but we've all internalized that melody. So being able to internalize other melodies just kind of takes playing them, listening to them, and learning the chord structure. So first things first, learn a chord structure. Then you need to think about what to play, when to play it, and how to play it, right? So we've talked a lot about on the YouTube and stuff what to play. Okay, those would be notes. When to play them would be when to put them in the timing structure, right? So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. That would be more on the front beat. For that, those are going to be creative decisions that you can do that can be extremely impactful. Can I take something that's straight and offset it that'll make something that's pretty simple sound really, really cool? Cool. After that, it's not just when you play it, but it's how you play it, right? So there's pull-offs, there's hammer-ons, there's slides, there's downward slides, right? There's all of these things that come with articulation, to where if you just saw two notes on a piece of paper where it was, that sounds a lot different than, right? So we need to think about that when we're listening to this stuff. What is the phrasing doing, right? And how we can kind of start to mimic that, which is what we want to do. And it seems extremely intimidating at first, but you want to hum along with the solo. So, for example, someone came on my live stream on TikTok the other day, and they wanted me to learn, I think it was Some Old Day. That beginning part. Da 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 da. That was the only way I knew how to learn it, was to go ba da ba da da da. I'm not even really worried about what notes I'm trying to sing right there. I'm not placing what notes those are, and I really don't care what they are. I care about the timing and the phrasing of it, because I can find the notes with my ear, because I've trained my ear to know, to hear this stuff. As you practice these arpeggios, you're going to start to train your ear to know that that's good, that's a major, that's a minor, right? You want to be able to hear the difference in those two chords. Okay, now we can hear them in a progression. We can understand intervals. We can understand all of this stuff. We can start adding on top of, and we have a framework now. We know that the song will resolve on one. We have a framework now with how we're going to play a solo that really kind of makes sense regardless if we know the melody or not. We know that when we change the chords, we can play their chord tones, because that's the simplest version of any type of scale, and so that will work regardless. Once you add pentatonics and more complex harmony scales over chord changes, you need to become modal. So there's a ton that goes along with that and making sure it makes sense. But yeah, that's just the beginning. Understanding those couple of things is going to help you in your journey. And when we come back, I'm going to try to post some videos about actually playing along with some songs. If I can make that work here, I think I can. Yeah, so see you at the next video. Thanks for watching.